Oh, that timed out perfectly because that was actually, I was like, it's a really long load screen. How's this gonna go? But all right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTSL, the Base Trade Star League Season 7 Finals. As said before, we got quite a few games ahead of us, so if you like Starcraft 2, make sure to mosey on over to the channel. We got some games for you. Also, Diesel Max Power during the intro cheered 300 bits. You two are content producing machines. Thank you very much, dude. And yes, we frickin' are. Let's get into it, though. In the bottom right, we got to see a little bit of him yesterday. I guess, spoiler alert, he won the Alima League. It is Zest.
In the top left, as the Red Terran, he is Bunny.
Bunny, who I'm sure he's done this intentionally, is somehow managed to get his account into Bronze League. This is particularly funny because for those who don't know StarCraft 2, Bunny is not only a Grandmaster player regularly, it's actually incredibly difficult to get into Bronze League. You can actually throw tons of matches and still get placed in Silver. So the fact that he has like achieved Bronze League status might actually be more pain in the ass for someone like him than to go Grandmaster. So it's just really funny to see him in Bronze League.
That it is. So this looks like a familiar matchup. And they were talking a lot in the lobby, so I checked. And Zest did 2-0 Bunny yesterday on his way to the semifinals. So Zest being pretty good in the new patch, which just is played on.
It's worth noting if you guys missed out on the cast yesterday where we also played in the Balanced Test mod. And I should note, by the way, on America and Europe, it is live with 4.0, but not on Korea yet. So we were using the mod version of this. It's a little bit slightly jankier, but not by much. We saw Protoss looking a little bit too good. However, TY was fighting back in big ways and proved that there's definitely ways you can beat Protoss, but it was an uphill battle to say the least.
Yeah, it was quite difficult, and the game ended with not a lot of fireworks either. The series, I should say.
The last game of the series was like the most disappointing 3-minute, 8-second loss I've seen in a while.
Yeah, pretty devastating, but can happen. So Zest finding himself in the tiebreaker match, actually, for the round of 8. Has to play one more match than, I guess, most other people. But the next person he would face if he beat Bunny, if all things go according to plan like yesterday, would be Innovation. He's here.
Yeah, our plan, by the way, guys, so we're going to cast this best of 3, follow the winner to versus Innovation, both semifinals, and the grand finals. So if you want to look at the brackets, you can keep up to date with the other results. Unfortunately, or fortunately, all the casters from the other languages, we got TvP in German and Sin, however you pronounce that, in Russian, we're all piled into the same game right now. So everyone wanted to see Bunny versus Zest.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Guma versus Trap would have been good. Stats versus Cure as well. But of course, Cure wasn't quite here on time. So there would have been wait time, I suppose.
We should also mention why this is going to look a little bit difficult today. Stalkers are changed. For those familiar with Stalkers, I think the way it works is their overall DPS is about the same, but with a slower attack speed, they now have more damage per shot. So these hit and run tactics are actually much stronger than before.
Yeah, and I really wonder about the DPS. It's such a dramatic difference when you see burst damage on a medevac or a tank, for instance. That's, I think, really where it gets highlighted, just how much more damage the Stalker does up front. It's quite devastating. Really takes the power out of Liberators, medevac drops, and siege tank pushes.
The medevacs were big highlights for sure, but then furthermore, the Liberators were going down so much easier than we've ever seen them go down before.
Yeah, it's a pretty dramatic difference, and considering that all 3 of those things I just listed are exactly how Terrans have learned to play, either by medevac dropping everywhere, or tank pushing, or getting a mass amount of Liberators. So Stalkers kind of cover all of that now. It's a little, like, unnerving, like maybe there's a problem there, but maybe the Terrans just have to figure it out.
It should be mentioned, though, with BlizzCon having come to a close and WCS not starting until 2018, we are technically in the off-season of StarCraft 2. This is the time you want them to experiment with these changes, the times you want the balance to be maybe a little bit out of whack so you can tweak it for 2018. Have a much more exciting and hopefully better game for it throughout the year. Thank you very much to Walgren78, by the way, coming back for 13 months in a friggin' row. And then I apparently need to go refund Diesel Max Power every bit he's ever cheered to the channel because he says, good, screw Terran. Get out. Leave.
Yeah, get out. Yeah, right?
I don't want your dirty bits. Probably a Protoss player.
Probably. What's interesting, so first of all, Zest, of course, going for Blink, Robo. Seems to be one of the standard openers. I'm pretty sure it was a Kalozur that actually was convinced that Stargate openers would become the main thing, like Stargate fast third into Blink Stalkers, because, you know, Blink Stalkers have gotten better. But as much as I I would I kind of would expect that as well, right? Like, why get a Robo when the Widowmine is no longer a problem? Especially for most Terrans who have simply given up on it. TY was the one outlier. But we always see Robo openers. Like, the Stargate's actually fallen aside, I guess, to make room for more Stalkers, I suppose. Faster transition to charge, I don't know.
It's a funny way to phrase it, but I think you've hit the nail on the head with that description. Also, I guess, I know we're on the front page, so it's like, hey, some of you guys don't normally know StarCraft anyways, but with major changes happening to the game, you'll probably hear us repeating a lot of information. For example, shield batteries are now a thing. The reference to Widow Mines. Once the Widow Mine fires, it's no longer stealthed / burrowed. So little nuances here and there, but then big changes like the shield battery. And the shield batteries are freaking good, guys. We saw a lot of both good and bad use out of them during yesterday's stream.
Yeah. They really got to see their power highlighted with a couple proxies, too. This isn't enough Stalkers initially, but trying to take out the tank, it does go down. The loss of, was it one Stalker? Two. Structures lost hers too, man. Not a bad start for Bunny, but overstaying his welcome dramatically. He had sent the tanks back, but left the Marines here. They got a pylon. Ooh.
It's interesting because Zest actually comes out behind in that trade in terms of like straight up resources lost, but Bunny, that was the majority of his army. That's a lot of Marines he just threw away.
Yeah, that was really questionable. He definitely could have gotten in and out if that pylon was truly important. But then, you know, the question is, why get the pylon?
Discussing the hypotheticals here on the Robo, by the way, I think we've seen every player go consistently for like 5 or 6 like observers very quickly, spread them out. They even put them in that we call them siege mode, right? Like, I'm kind of thinking that we're talking a lot about the Stalkers, but I'm wondering how much of this has to do with the observers.
So observers, for those that don't know, did get a benefit. You can now put them in surveillance mode, which is like siege mode, gives them a longer range, but they stay stationary. The only I think you also might be right about that. Oh, well, those stocks are perfectly placed. Damn. You might be right about that. So Revelation is as good as 1 billion observers if you keep on hitting it, but it also has a higher chance of accidentally dying. It's hard to control. These observers are really forget it. Set it and forget it, and you can focus entirely on your Stalker positioning, which is just what Zest did.
Shield battery does not automatically heal buildings, but you can set it to, just so people are aware. I was unaware of this during the cast yesterday and learned that after the fact.
Yeah, so a bit of a learning process. But we have seen Zest be pretty good about it. Going into Storm, the upgrades, of course. Upgrades have also been another, I think, problem, as we've witnessed TvP. Barely seeing the medevacs. Yeah. Well, they were good, but they barely don't kill them. The Stalkers definitely will, and Bunny might still just lose his drop.
Okay, this ends up being way too much probe damage, though. I really thought, even with the medevacs not dying, the fact that they had no energy, oh, hello, Marauder, was going to be a big problem. Feedbacks, again, are a little bit silly to see. You've already killed them. You can't kill them any further. But 33 probes have died. This has turned out really well for Bunny. Zest has lost so many probes through this.
Yeah, and his Stalkers, I guess the count of them just got so low. They stayed in the natural, apparently. That's what it was. Perhaps expecting this drop in the natural, but the timing didn't really work out well, so it just looked like he wasn't responding to the main, and just actually took forever. So he loses a ton of probes. He was making probes that entire process, though, so finding himself at 50 isn't terrible, but there's a lot of Stalkers that he would otherwise have.
By the way, Hathson, thank you very much in chat. I did so many things today. I even made a Reddit thread. We never make Reddit threads. I totally forgot to change the title of the stream. This is not a vodcast if you're watching this on November 15th at 4:14 a.m. on the West Coast. So, sorry about that. Title's been updated, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. I do appreciate that. Oh, that's a good storm.
Drops.
And there's not enough medevacs to heal up that damage. That's going to be rough.
Storm drops have been something that Zest has been doing really, really well. Upgrades, what I was going to talk about before the attack happened. Upgrades are generally, if you don't lose 40 probes, way ahead for the Protoss player, at least ahead a full like 1-1, if not sometimes like 2-1. Not the case here, actually. Zest falls behind a little bit with only 2-1 being done. And okay, now he just starts +2 shield or armor. There we go. But Bunny might have a chance with this army, like direct army engagement with the upgrades. Zest is looking for a possible position to move in here, but his armor supply actually isn't that great.
Yeah, the Liberators are normally a much bigger problem, but with so few of them, not highlighting it just yet. It will be as more get produced, of course, but this brings up a really hard question and decision for Zest. What units does he warp in? Obviously, Zealots would be the greatest opinion and choice, but you're going to need those Stalkers. You're going to need some anti-air.
That storm wasn't necessarily the best one. I thought he was going to force field, actually. Okay, there's the force field and a couple more storms.
Oh,
he's going to wrap it to the natural.
He's on 8 gateways behind us, so warp-ins won't be devastating, but as we see here, the Liberators are setting up in a pretty good spot. Oh no. Oh, small hiccup. Panic averted. We're good.
Okay. Well, Zest, I thought you were Owen because Zest was a little late to blink on top of those Liberators. They got a lot of damage on a couple of Archons. Now being concaved on, it's a little dangerous. Zest
His
has
army's
no...
trapped?
Well, no, he could recall. He could recall.
He could. I don't think he's thinking about it, though. Well, even if he does, that still leaves his army vulnerable for like 5+ seconds. There's the recall. Bunny's gonna hop on top of this, pick up the Warp Prism. That was actually kind of a nice last-second snag, and he does get out of there, but not with much remaining. 27 army supply.
Yeah. He never took all of his gases either, so reinforcing the High Templars and an accidental slow warp in, too. Really starting to panic as he realizes his army supply is way too low. He didn't spend his minerals during that time either, or he couldn't spend them, enough of them, with the amount of gateways that he had. His upgrades are about to finish, so he still manages to have that upgrade lead. I think his Chrono's pretty good or something. But it's a, heavily reduced army supply.
I really want to get excited and start talking about, like, maybe Bunny just needed more practice on the patch, and that's why he lost yesterday, and this, that, and the other. But Zest is making really weird decisions this game that I'm not getting behind. Like, his response to the drop earlier, the push into the natural, dedicating and getting himself stuck.
Yeah. Well, the drop definitely was a question mark because it looked like his Stalkers did just stay in the natural. They expected maybe the medevacs to go there.
Oh no, that blink. Why would you blink forward like that?
And the couple of blinks that are really questionable. Yeah, absolutely agree. He has managed to even up the army supply a little bit more with a couple of really great storms. But Bunny is on 4 bases and just looking to win this game.
Bunny did lose a lot of workers. If Zest found a way to like level out the army, maybe his economy could shine through, but it doesn't look like he can do that. Not enough Stalkers to properly deal with the Liberators, so this bio is just running over everything else on the ground. A little bit of warp for some micro, but it's not looking like it's going to be enough.
I couldn't tell if he thought there might be Storm or if he's trying to micro the Immortal. I suppose both, but High Templar is just barely without it. No use of feedback as the medevacs are already dry. Zest does barely hold on. The Immortals were huge as most of that army was Marauder.
I like that that's been like the theme. It's like that Game of Thrones thing. You can't kill that which is dead will never die. Like, you can't feed back empty medevacs, man.
Yeah. But the supply has really evened out here. The army supply is evened out. The worker count, as you noted, like Zest had managed to get ahead with so much damage under the natural. And Zest, I mean, yeah, he lost his 4th base, but it's already almost done again. And he has really good upgrades. Well, pretty good upgrades. He's matched Bunny despite falling behind for a minute there.
I actually don't like... I'm really questioning Bunny's choice to continue investing in Liberators here. There's a lot of Stalkers, and maybe Widow Mines might be better at this point.
Yeah, that's one thing. TY was the only guy that was going for Widow Mines continuously in this matchup.
I loved watching his reactions too. The dancing looked awkward, but he like made sure there was no splash damage. I'm still nerding out about TY's control yesterday, and we're not even casting him yet.
Probably later. An emergency wall just to hold on a little bit longer. I don't think Zest would push up in the concave. Well, I mean, it actually looked a little bit tempting. There weren't really a lot of units, but yeah, Zest didn't want to push up into a concave anyways.
Shield Battery did a lot of healing there to keep these units alive, so Zealots actually end up taking care of the warp, or not the warp, but the drops.
Because Bunny wasn't paying attention. Probably should have gotten out there a lot sooner. The medevac is going to go down, and medevacs can, I mean, they can be a problem. You know, I think the last fight he had too many medevacs.
You remember?
Not too many, but it just looked like he had more army supply than he did. This time, he might have too few and not be able to heal his army.
You remember when Marauders were better than Stalkers? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Marauders are like, you know, obviously still like beefy units,
They're
man.
good,
But,
yeah.
But like Stalker is just a new baby immortal, and it's pretty powerful.
Well, I want to make fun of it, but realistically, the strength in the Marauders is that you can mass produce them easier than Stalkers. So you should ideally be able to get more of them, and one should lose out to one, and blah blah blah. But I don't know, man. At this point, well,
what does a Marauder cost? 125.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right. My point of this though is just like, I want to balance complain about the Stalkers because they look so good, but realistically, they're not that great. They're not like, oh my god, OP, but they are freaking better than they were before. That's for certain.
I guess time will tell. I want to say that it's not overpowered just because things always adapt in a new patch, but certainly the Terrans have to take smarter engagements. Like when they see Marauders against Stalkers, it was always like an easy peasy, I see him to win, but it's no longer the case.
He's got to reposition those Liberators. Turns around in just the nick of time. Storm's coming down. Big splits. Medevacs do have energy to actually heal for once, which is going to be nice. But it's a lot of Zealots he's got to chew through. And these Liberators are going down to the Stalkers before they actually get to take them out. Bunny's army supply is waning, and this isn't looking good for our Terran. Corpses flying everywhere.
Some pretty good upgrades. Of course, those Liberators all stacked up like that went down a lot faster than he would have liked. And then just too much Protoss collapsing in on him. Bunny desperately trying to survive what he can, but he's down in army supply.
I like the ghosts, but I'm afraid they're coming out too late. Whether it's for storms or just EMPs to get rid of the shields. I mean, oh god, he was running for his life here, and very few, if any of these units are going to get out of here.
Yeah, just overstimmed anyways. This is not a planetary. It was a lifted main orbital, and Bunny is on his last life. I mean, I said the same thing for Zest like 6 minutes ago, but Bunny over-dedicating, I suppose. Again, not recognizing how great Stalkers are.
We really should get on the Zest hype train, though. Bunny had him in a vice for a little bit there. The workers killed, the damage done. Like, it didn't look recoverable at a glance, but Zest has brought this back to not just a fighting position, but I'd say ahead.
Yeah, he's certainly winning. He could probably take this fight as long as it's not around the planetary. Decides not to, though, actually goes towards the planetary, but hopes to catch the army out of position.
Trying for the mass repair. Storm's hit the right side. EMP's gonna land, but that's not gonna be enough. More Zealots on the backside, too. And
well, that's gonna be good.
Yeah. He's just got no support units. Well, the supply's not exactly gone. It's not good enough to take on what's available. And Zest, credit where it's due, man. Brought this back from a terrible early game. I guess harass drop, whatever you want to call it. And
yeah,
I mean, Bunny, I will criticize the Liberators. I feel they are not that good right now, to be honest. But that being said, he still had a hell of a game.
Yeah, he did. It really all came down to that one fight in Zest Natural, and we thought Bunny was on his way to winning. Perhaps there was just... I mean, like, really looking at it, the Immortals really helped out. Mass Marauders was the name of that army. But also the Medevacs being dry perhaps was another thing. Just Bunny overzealous to end the game. Maybe should have been more patient. Just rallied and collected himself a little bit.
Yeah. There's the tap out. GG. Zest takes game number 1 in this best of 3. Also, I didn't realize your camera was off earlier. I'm sorry. Let me fix that. All right. So by the way, thank you very much to Sylvine _ first new sub of the day. Good to see you in chat, man. Thank you very much for hitting us up with that Twitch Prime. Of course, I'm going to be pushing that follow button as hard as I can today, guys. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit that follow button. If you're joining us from the front page of Twitch, hello. Come join us in the chat. We got some cool commands and odd other information you would definitely like to be able to see. And if you are a Starcraft fan and for some reason haven't heard of us at this point, we are live almost every single day with Starcraft 2 and tournaments of some variety. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with the BTSL, it is loser's choice, so Bunny will get to pick the map. We'll wait for him to let us know what it's going to be.
For Blackpink.
Okay, this is one of the new maps. This is one of the new maps introduced with the off-season, which might carry over to Season 1, we'll find out. Is this the one that I'm trying to remember? Is this the one with the little pachinko squares in the middle of the map?
No,
or
that's Black Violet Square. Or Neon Violet Square.
Neon Violet, yeah, okay, yeah. That was a funny map. Who are we missing here? Zest.
Right? Okay, there you go.
I was like, the lobby looks right. I see all the people that we should see. Who are we missing? Oh, the players, of course. Well, I do not have intros for these new maps, so we do get the awkward regular load screen, but we are working on them, guys, so here we go into Black Pink for game number 2. Thank you, Duffy, for the 20-month resub. Coming back to say TvP is broken. Correct.
Maybe, yeah, a little bit.
Oh, I love the stupidity of this comment. I absolutely must call it out. Gearbox says, lol, Rifkin dressed up to impress Zombie Grub. Just doesn't give a fuck. I'm just gonna let you guys in on a little secret. Zombie Grub can't see me. Like,
yeah, I have
all.
no idea what he looks like.
I could be sitting here in one of those like green suit one piece things that they wear. Like she wouldn't know. Like
Please don't do that.
BRB Amazon.ca. All right, game number 2 kicks off. Spawning here on the top right. He's down a game at the moment. It's gonna be the blue Terran Bunny.
The bottom left has the pink Protoss. It is Zest.
And this map is going to be part of the new ladder pool once everything is actually live. So just to give you guys a quick little peek at the map, since maybe some of you haven't seen this yet. It's actually not too crazy. Some of the new maps, like Neon, Violet Square that we had mentioned before, are a little bit weird, but this one is pretty much normal mains and naturals. It's worth noting there's no back spot for the Reapers. Like if you're fighting Terran to hop up, you actually can only get up through the ramp or this side spot next to it. It's a pretty safe base. I've heard there's some walling issues with this ramp, but I think that's only in the live version, not the, I guess this test map version.
Oh, interesting.
Is it a depot that's in the way or something?
I heard some complaints about the third base, just because, you know, it is kind of an awkward down a ramp, up a ramp, but it's actually closer than like a Mech Depot, for instance, and Mech Depot is a perfectly fine map. So, this current map pool is actually pretty good. We got 3 of the old ones, which I'm not happy about because just I'm sick of Ascension to Ire, but I understand why it's still in there. And it makes for a pretty well-rounded map pool. But this time, in this tournament, we get to see the 2 maps we didn't see yesterday, which is Catalyst and Battle on the Boardwalk.
Glare.
Battle on the Boardwalk had a ton of really super long games. It's actually a short rush distance, but big map. And Catalyst I didn't really get to see a lot of, but that would be the finals guaranteed if it's never picked. So
yeah, that would be cool to see some of the maps we didn't get to see through the Lima League already. Reaper gonna come over here for a bit of a scout. I mean, going back on like some of the losses we saw yesterday at TY with the Oracles and stuff, right? Regardless of like actual build choice, it did feel to me on that topic of maps that maps were the bigger problem in terms of like you're not used to scouting the back base on Neon Violet Square or whatever it's called, and we saw 3 different people get away with that. No scouting. It was ridiculous.
The maps are going to be needed to get used to, but they are pretty solid. If Zest opening up with Robo and Twilight Council, which seems to be the norm. Let's target for this guy.
Chibi wants me to sing him a lullaby, but I don't know any lullabies, man. None that are copyright clear, at least.
Aww.
Alright, so Bunny, in terms of what he's doing, sticking with bio, so not changing up to anything weird. Man, I love the way that sounds. I was just bringing this up, though, because TY showed us some pretty cool mech games, and I'm kind of wondering whether mech will be part of, like, a meta or not. It's struggled for years to be standard by anyone's terms, and it would be cool if whatever changes to the balance made mech more viable, whether it's through the new Raven healing utility, scrambler missiles, you name it.
It was pretty cool to see TY throw it out in a best of 5, but really gotta criticize the way Zest handled it. I'm gonna watch the VOD.
5 robos.
Yeah, maybe 5 robos that he couldn't even afford all 5 at a time unless he was producing the War Prisms, and then he used it to produce War Prisms. Like that's questionable.
There's actually, if someone has a clip to that, or it was like one of our most popular clips in the last 24 hours, you can find it, I'm sure. It was really funny to see. But thank you, Walgren78, for the $5 donation. He says, donations for Rifkin's Neon Green One Piece. Now, I know you're saying that like the morph suit, but I read a One Piece and I'm thinking like, bathing suit?
Yeah. Yeah, neon green
Actually,
onesie bathing suit.
Technically, any bathing suit could be a One Piece if you try hard enough.
Wait, how could a bikini become a one piece?
Just lose the top.
Yeah,
and there's
okay,
only one piece.
Yeah. That's not trying very hard, though. I feel like that would be more elaborate. So,
right.
This is interesting. We've seen Marauder proxies come back into play since like they were like a Wings Liberty thing. Yeah, and now Bunny is opening a macro game with concussive shells and Marauders, specifically to stop Zest from having this map control.
I really like the fast concussive shells too. It's not exactly standard, but Blink finishes up, so he might be able to escape with some of the stalkers here. Good damage done though, and Bunny is going to be facing against a shield battery. This might actually be really difficult to fight. Yeah,
the shield battery only has so much energy though, and it's already out, so trying to reinforce, they just get gunned down, and Bunny has really caught Zest by surprise.
This blitz move is great because Zest is, this is it. This is all his army supply, guys. It's literally these stalkers. He killed the warp in, so the gateways are in cooldown. He can't warp in anything new, and if he does, it's going to get targeted down, so he'll have to focus, I guess, warp in over here.
Yeah. Perhaps a little bit too greedy, chronoing probes instead of gateways, or, you know, waiting to chrono the upgrades, which he always, you know, well, generally gets double upgrades. He's going to try and still clean this up.
I refuse to recognize that you could chrono incorrectly. Pretty sure you just chrono and win. That's what Neeb said.
Pretty sure chrono. Okay, whatever. Well, chronoing probes will be a bad idea to make up for the temporary loss that he had. But Bunny is trying to rally across this. This is a fairly large map. It's a little bit difficult to do.
These stalkers are so low. I think he knows he's not going to get the Nexus, which is a little disappointing. So he's trying to take out the shield battery and get a couple extra kills. Even if these stalkers live, they are so low that... Oh my god, that's like 1 health, literally. 1 health on this stalker. Even if they live, they're not going to really be effective in the next fights.
Yeah. Bunny realizes that it's not going to work out and does collect himself. Third base is almost done for him. It looks like, you know, he got so many upgrades. So he got double tech labs, first of all, right? With double Marauder production pretty early on, and then double upgrades. That's a lot of gas and even minerals, right, into an investment early on. Looks like the consequence was his upgrades. Only starting +1 just now, so Zest, if he can really get it with chrono boosting the forges, could actually just go so far ahead in upgrades that it'd be really insane gateway-based army. But we really gotta like collect ourselves and look at the situation. It looks like Zest, despite what looked to be an almost game-winning move, isn't actually that bad off. He just caught a couple of units, or rather the units caught him. Tables have turned once again, loses all of the stalkers.
This is really interesting to me because I think a lot of the strength for the stalkers came from the fact that, like, and not this game, but generally speaking, that you have enough of them to one-shot things down. Yeah. Keeping this count low is actually going to make a world of difference when it comes to getting a medevac in, for example, actually unloading units. Yeah. These trades, I mean, they're kind of close in resources lost, but I like what Bunny's been doing.
Well, the fact that Zest just lost what was an almost even army supply right there is rather worrying. But his real problem, I suppose, is gas. So he's trying to warp in Zealots now and fit in charge. I mean, he's getting so many upgrades, right? But then, you know, the third base being delayed for a little bit has really affected that. And stalkers do cost like a fair bit of gas. I always talk about the difference of Marauder cost and stalker cost, but yeah, when you're trying to include everything else, it's kind of expensive. So Zest, significantly down in army supply, is waiting to see the army move out. Saw it, and now is just, you know, trying to determine how much time he has before he really has to start warping in.
That's the beauty of these observers and their extended range. Just, you have vision on everything. This is better than Oracle's Revelation, frankly. Oracle's Revelation, you have to actually work for it. You just set and forget the observers, you're good to go.
Are we really saying that Revelation was a preferable spell?
I mean,
is that where we're at right now? Oh god.
So, by the way, I didn't realize this. I was just checking the match arena page for this. 47 is, I guess, can't stick around for the stream, but the dude threw in $25 to the prize pool. He's got a date with a bottle of NyQuil. Have a great final. So if you watch the VOD of this dude, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, I guess I'll use that as a quick reminder to use the code RBTSL4, guys. Oh, come on. Something's got to reach. To add $1 to the prize pool. Type exclamation mark match arena in chat if you want to learn more. Medevacs are going to boost around the side, but they are going to get caught by the Stalker, so forced to unload. Not a good feeling. This army for Bunny, I feel like all the hard work he did in the early game is about to be lost through this fight.
And he didn't need, like, Zest didn't even have charge, but the units were trapped around that pylon, and force fields came down too. There's not enough area in the back here. He loses his medevacs, loses his army. If he had dropped to the main base with this could have been okay, but there's units actually here to hold on. Uh-oh. Last minute split to attempts, but this was about holding on and just, you know, getting over here, and he did that job.
So that's what I was thinking. They're like, okay, this could be bad because he doesn't have enough energy for a recall. Maybe this was like Zest being super out of position, and he still is. He didn't go to the main. He thought to drop, retreated in full, but it didn't. Shield battery is so good. He actually can't out DPS shield battery at a full drop. Are you serious?
No, I can't.
Shield battery is so good, Zombie.
It is pretty good, and Phil runs out of energy anyways. Oh, medevacs.
Despite that extra shot from the Widow Mine, it's not enough to kill the Zealots. There's nowhere to really hide on this map, too. This is a map that doesn't have dead space. Not for your medevacs, not for your command centers, and oh boy, that's gonna hurt. I will give it to Bunny, though. He's being very active. He's all over the map. He's not missing out on macro back at home for this or anything, but these attacks are being just so inefficient. Yeah,
they really are. This is... I mean, as long as he's got a decent macro game behind it, I suppose it's okay. You know, TY certainly had a couple of bad drops that ended up still being okay and getting him a victory. And Bunny is on 4th base, planetary, and 2 more starports.
Super triggered by Jibby's observation. I never noticed the gap below the minimap, but now I can't not see it.
I immediately noticed it. I didn't want to say anything.
It's been ruined. Ruined.
The map is ruined.
Actually, I wonder if that's in the live version. Fix it with the observing overlay. I know Ali just put out that GameHeart 3.0. I don't have that installed yet, but I should.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see.
Medevac shut down hard. All right, so where we're at for Bunny, though, he's gone to Liberators again. I'm still not convinced this is the way to go. We watched a lot of players try and pull this off versus Protoss. We saw Gumiho try and make it work. And I feel like if Gumiho can't make it work, nobody can make it work. So I'm not convinced the Liberators are going to be his best friend coming into this. But I do note that Blackpink seems to have a lot of chokes and ramps. It reminds me a lot of Abyssal Reef in that regard. So maybe he can force some fights with these Liberators in good positions. Maybe.
I think the Liberators could be good, especially if they're covered appropriately. That's where the Widow Mines, you know, and refusing to get the...
Oh my god.
Well, those are pretty good storms. Force fields come down, too, to cut off the army in half, and the Liberator count just isn't high enough. And those Widow Mines I was going to talk about aren't actually in position to stop the Stalkers, to threaten them when they do blink underneath the Liberators.
This is going to be a callback to yesterday, but it's raining, Zombie Grub.
Ha!
But it's all Terran tears, unfortunately.
That was on Neon Violet Square. I understood that reference.
Thank you, Captain America.
So Bunny takes not a great fight, but really not that bad either. Like his supply is still stable, and a lot of that's, you know, a decent economy with a lot of production, not just barracks, but right now also producing off of 3 starports. Zest, that wasn't a kill move. You know, it was good that he backed off. Now Bunny finds himself a, you know, head and army supply. Going for a drop is pretty dangerous, but this map is very large, and by the time it actually passes an observer, Zest will be really out of position. Well, again, recall though.
I was gonna say, recall's a pretty powerful mechanic that he might just be able to utilize. Right now, though, that Stalker blink is on quota, so he takes a big shot from the Widow Mines. An effective EMP. Random missile turret ends up driving off the warp prism, which was nice to see. But yeah, now he has seen this. Can he respond? Big Stalker warp in here in the main. Not gonna cut it if Bunny wants to go for this drop.
That's so many units, but scared off by all these Stalkers. Zest does pull back entirely. Now Bunny can finally get his 5th base. It is going to be his main lifted again. Just an orbital, but still a good move. Stalker's going to be demolished by the Marauders here.
He's not fully unloaded his medevacs. He's actually missing a fair bit of units from this fight. I don't like this. He is going to trade out decently with the units at the top, but here come those reinforcements back at home. However, Zest being drawn into the natural fully entirely, baited in the wrong way, because Bunny's going for the economy kills, and he goes to the north bases. This should definitely die.
This is really good. Now, Zest does have a 5th base that he might be able to save, but Bunny is in 2 places at once. The split has to be very good by Zest.
I love the way the Liberator is set up on that ramp too, but Zest is trying to go around this. There's another base here in the top left. Couple of shield batteries and cannons. Gonna buy a lot of time. Storm's getting some good hits on this bio. It looks like the drop in the main has been cleaned up at this point. Was one base enough damage? He might still lose the whole army for this, and that's my fear for Bunny. There's not enough medevacs to get out of here. He's got to run. He's got to literally just gun it.
Yeah, he realizes that. The upgrades are not quite even because shields are actually upgraded for Zest, and that's pretty dangerous army. Again, just these massive gateway units and a lot of upgrades working wonders for Protoss in this patch.
Well, this is not a bad place to take a last stand, so to speak. Soccer's blink outside the Liberators, but they'll get some good shots on the Zealots. And with the Zealots cleared out, maybe the Marauders can push through? This is tough to say. Bunny's got a concave, but it doesn't appear to have enough units, and the medevacs are dry.
Yeah. Bunny is quickly falling down in supply, and the Liberators probably won't even be able to save him. I think the intention was to get even more production, but never added on the Tech Lab or reactor to these starports, and now Zest is on top of production. That should be it.
Oh, gosh. This is so heartbreaking to watch for Bunny, because like game 1 and game 2 are this tale of like, he looks good, he makes the right moves, and then still dies to Zest.
Yeah.
However, this does mean Zest will move on to fight against Innovation, and these are two of the bigger names in Starcraft 2 and have been for a very long time. We didn't get to see Innovation, I think, at all yesterday, so I'm very excited to see how he'll handle this matchup, as we get another look at what a different style of Terran does. But yeah, for those who don't know about the tournament, as mentioned before, thanks to, where is it up here, Twitch, this is made possible. The quick story is we had a tournament. It pissed people off with its name. It was a meme, Make Korea Great Again. People loved it so much, so we tried to find a sponsor for it, and Twitch was willing to help out with that. So prize money, all these other things are helped enhanced through Matcherino. If you don't know what Matcherino is, type !Matcherino in chat. It's basically a kind of on-the-go crowdfunding thing for tournaments. It's been great. We've been working with them for like 2 years. We got 100 codes available. So if 100 people use the code RBTSL4, the prize pool will increase by $100. That's real money. That's not fake money. That's $1 US per code that gets used. You don't have to use your credit card or PayPal or anything. You can just do it for free. We are, however, going to take a quick 2-minute commercial break, and when we get back, we'll be in Zest versus Innovation for the round of 8. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.